Okay. So, babalikan ko lang yung objectives ng topic 1 natin. At the end of the lessons, the students should be able to distinguish fundamental terms used in statistics and data analysis and solve and interpret various descriptive measures from data-driven problems. So, nagsimula na tayong mag-define, mag-distinguish ng mga fundamental terms na ginagamit sa statistics. In fact, natapos na tayong mag-look into the overview of statistics, what are the uses of statistics, the different fields of statistics, and then basic terms na pag-aralan na rin natin. In fact, we were able to conduct parang oral recitations on the different terms in statistics. So I'm gonna proceed to where we stumbled upon. If I'm not mistaken, natapos na natin yung variables natin. So, dito tayo sa data collection. Tama ba?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, mag-data collection tayo. We have different methods of data collection. We have the survey method, observation method, experimental method, use of existing studies, registration method, simulation method. So, isa-isahin natin yung paano ba tayo mag-collect ng data natin. So, ayan. Wait lang. I'm just gonna change the layout na lang muna dito. Ayan. Better. This is better.
Okay po, sir. Wow.
So, survey method is a type of a data collection where questions are asked to obtain information, either through self-administered questionnaire. So, we have census or sampling na type ng survey method. Pag census, ang sinasurvey natin the whole population, while the sampling, the part of the population lang. So, observation method lang natin is when we have the recording of the behavior but only at the time of the occurrence. We also have the experimental method. I think run through na rin to kasi parang na-discuss na rin natin to pero gusto ko lang na ulitin lang natin. Experimental method is a method designed for collecting data under controlled conditions. Ibig sabihin, ikaw mismo na researcher or ikaw mismo na nagko-collect ng data, you have now the discretion to control the conditions. Use of existing studies, ibig sabihin magiging secondary data na ngayon yung gagamitin mo. Registration method, that is car registration, student registration, hospital admission, ticket sales. So the main difference between registration method and survey method is on the act of delivering or administering the questionnaire or the fields na ipapa-answer mo sa mga respondents mo. Sa survey method, ikaw mismo yung pupunta at mag-a-ask ng permission at mag-administered ng questionnaires. While on the registration method is the respondents yung lalapit at sila yung mag-fill out towards the venue, parang ganun. So we have also the simulation method. So where instead of having a physical model, magkakaroon ka ngayon ng mathematical or physical model to reproduce the conditions of a situation or process. And then, if ever na magko-collect tayo ng data and then magsasampling tayo dito sa survey method, we also have different samples na kukunin natin. When you have a random sample, ibig sabihin, we have specified sample size and each sample size, yung mga element doon has to be selected with the same exact equal chances. So we also have the stratified sample where segment of populations are represented. For example, if you have freshmen, sophomore, juniors, seniors, then dapat properly represented lang sila. We also have the cluster sample, well, with all members from the randomly selected segment of populations, kukunin natin. So example, if you have a natural occurring populations that falls onto the cities of Dasmariñas, divided into city blocks, we have different blocks. Yung mga green blocks na yan, they have naturally occurring subgroups they belong to another occurring subgroups, kukunin lahat natin yung mga samples that within that cluster. We also have the systematic sample where you assign number to each population member, and then starting number is randomly selected, and sample members are selected at regular intervals. So, for example, mag-number tayo, 1, and then 4, and so on and so forth. So, every fourth member is chosen. So, may mga number assignment ang mangyayari sa members dito. Convenience sample consists of available members of the populations. So, kung sino lang yung available. I think we also done this example where you have to identify what kind of samples ang meron tayo for each of the scenario. So, when you randomly select 2 different departments and survey each teacher in those departments, this is a cluster type of a sample. So, when you select only the teachers you currently have this semester, then this is a convenience sample. And when you divide the teachers up according to their department and then choose and survey some teachers in each department, then this is a stratified type. Ayan. So, dito magsisimula talaga yung ating new lesson for the topic 1. So we have the tabular representation. Just beep me or just tell me if medyo mahina yung connection ko or may problem sa connection. Okay lang ba?
Okay lang, sir.
Okay lang.
Okay lang po, sir.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you. So, paano ba natin i-represent yung data natin? First, i-represent natin yung data natin by tabular representation. No? Pinaka-basic yung tabular representation ng bibigay natin o pag-represent natin ng data natin. So, the first table is the frequency distribution. It is defined as the arrangement of the gathered data by categories plus their corresponding frequencies and class marks or midpoints. So, mag-a-arrange lang tayo ng gathered data natin by categories, and then bibilangin natin yung frequencies or maybe class marks or midpoints natin. So, it has a class frequency. So, pag sinabi natin class frequency, kung ilang beses na ulit yung data on that specific class. Later on, mas makikita natin yung significance ng frequency distribution table containing the number of observations belonging to the class interval. So, ang frequency are number of observations na meron tayo. Its class interval contain a grouping defined by the limits called the lower and upper limit. Between these limits are called class boundaries. So, sa frequency distribution table, kailangan ma-identify natin yung raw data natin. So, it's the set of data in its original form. And then, we put it in an array, which i-arrange na natin siya ngayon according to the magnitude, whether increasing or decreasing order. So, advantages of frequency distribution table, it is easier to detect the smallest and largest value kung naka-array na tayo ngayon. So, how do you construct a frequency distribution table? So, example, we have a 30 students, and then these are the scores of 30 students, and then this is the raw data na meron tayo, no? And then, i-arrange ngayon natin or gagawan ngayon natin ng frequency distributions. So, a frequency distribution is a table that shows classes or intervals of data with a count of the number in each class. Yung count na yon ng number from each class is called the frequency, denoted by F is the number of data points in the class. For example, ito lang, if you have a class 1 to 4, and then 5 to 8, and then 9 to 12, 13, 16, 17, 20, here are the examples of the frequency na meron tayo. So, ibig sabihin nito, 4 yung data na nafo-fall sa 1 to 4 na class. 2 yung data na fall sa 17 to 20, and so on and so forth. So, let's define yung 1, 5, 9, 13, 17. Again, may limits yung word, lower class limits. And then yung 4, 8, 12, 16, 20 are upper class limits. Ayan. And then yung nakikita natin sa kabilang column is the frequencies. So ang class width naman is the difference between the succeeding limits. For example, 5 minus 1, 9 minus 5, 13 minus 9, 17 minus 13. So lahat yan dapat uniform. So that uniformity is the class width na meron tayo. Pwede mo namang i-minus yung sa upper class limit like 8 minus 4, 12 minus 8, and so on and so forth. Now, if you're gonna find for the range, it is the difference between the maximum and minimum data entries na meron tayo. So, frequency distribution table can also be used in categorical data natin, no? Or mga data natin na naka-nominal. So, for example, our variable na nominal na sex and then frequency ngayon. So, nominal lang naman yung sex natin with the following data entries na male and female. And then if yung frequency mo ngayon si male and female. So this is a classic example of a frequency distribution of a nominal data na meron tayo. For ordinal data, like for example, frequency distribution of employee perception on the behavior of their administrators. So makikita natin dyan na we have the ordinal data, no? Nakarank yan. Pag ibig sabihin ng strongly favorable, ibig sabihin, maganda talaga yung employee perception dun sa behavior ng administrators natin. Anong perception ba? Level ng perception yung pinakamaraming frequency here? Sa tingin ninyo?
Strong, unfavorable.
Ano?
Unfavorable, sir.
Unfavorable.
Strongly unfavorable.
Yeah. Strongly unfavorable. So 31. So ibig sabihin, ang daming ayaw sa behavior, no? Ang daming hindi pabor sa behavior ng mga administrators based on the perception of the employees. Ayan. And then 100. So nakarank, alam mo na si strongly favorable, siya yung pinakamaganda, and then strongly favorable, siya yung least. Ganun. So, naka-ordinal data. So, table pa rin siya. Frequency distribution table pa rin siya. So, you can also construct frequency distribution table on ratio and interval, or interval and ratio ng mga data natin. Example, dun sa scores natin, no, of the students, 18 and so on. So 30 students yan. Kung gagawa ka ng frequency distribution table, gagawa ka ng classes, different classes, 18, 25, 26, 33, 34, 41, 42, 49, 50, 57. Now, itatali mo ngayon yan, and then gagawa ka ng frequency. So 13, 8, 4, 3, 2. Ayan. And then, so dapat, ano yung magiging sum ng frequency natin? Pag in-add natin yung frequency, what will be the value? Pag in-add natin yung lahat ng frequency natin, what do you think will be the value?
31, sir.
31?
30, sir.
30.
Okay. Very good. It's 30. Definitely, it's the number of observations na meron tayo. Okay? Makita naman natin sa number of observations natin. We have 30 observations. 30 students. Ayan. Very good. Now, midpoint is also known as the class mark. Is the sum of the lower and upper limits of the classes divided by 2. So, ibig sabihin, if may class tayo na 1 to 4, so, ang midpoint ng 1 to 4 is 2.5 kasi you're gonna add 1 plus 4 divided by 2. Ganun lang. So, 5 divided by 2 becomes 2.5. Ganun lang yung midpoint natin. So, ang midpoint ng 18 to 25 is 21.5 and so on and so forth. We also have the relative frequency. So, si relative frequency naman is kinukuha natin yung percentage ng data na na-fall dun sa specific class. Importante sa relative frequency, makuha natin yung frequency natin at yung sample size. So for example, for the class na 1 to 4, ang frequency niya is 4, and then the sample size natin is 30, therefore, the relative frequency is 4 divided by 30, and that's exactly 0.222. So maraming ways ng pag-express ng relative frequencies. Pwede mo siyang i-decimal, Pwede mo siyang i-fraction, pwede mo rin siyang i-percentage. But decimal, most of the time, yung way ng pagkuha natin ng relative frequency. So, if kukunin natin isa-isa yung relative frequency ng mga bata, this will be the following examples. So, ano yung magiging sum nung lahat ng relative frequencies natin? Ano yung magiging sum? Ano yung magiging equals? Pag nag-add tayo ng lahat ng relative frequencies? Okay, it's 1. Very good. Now, cumulative frequency, pag sinabi natin cumulative, ibig sabihin, nag-add up. It's the sum of all the frequencies for the class and all the previous classes. So, for example, the cumulative frequencies, 13, and then you're gonna add 8, magiging 21. You're gonna add 4, magiging 25. You're gonna add 3, magiging 28. And then you're gonna add 2, magiging 30. So, dapat yung pinaka-last na cumulative frequency, dapat siya yung number ng total, siya yung total number of students or total number of observations na meron tayo. Okay, so that's how you're gonna do the frequency distribution for the interval and ratio na data natin. So, after doing the frequency distribution table, we're gonna also look on how to graph. So, tabular representation kanina, ngayon naman, graphical representation. So, the first graph is the histogram or the bar graph. This graphical representation can be used in nominal, ordinal, or interval. For nominal bar graph, the bars are far apart rather than connected since the categories are not continuous. For ordinal and interval data, the bars should be joined to emphasize the degree of differences. Ayan. So, depende ngayon kung nominal or interval or ordinal yung data natin. Pag nominal yung data natin, dapat magkahiwalay. No? May spaces yung each of the bar. Pag ordinal and interval, dapat joined ang bar natin. So, here, this is a bar graph of the ordinal na meron tayo. Although, yan, naka-separate pa rin siya. No? May mga ordinal data pa rin tayo na naka-separate. But pag interval talaga, dapat talaga is naka-conjoined. Like for example here, this is an interval type of sample. So joined na sila. Frequency histogram, pag gumagawa naman tayo ng frequency histogram, so dapat joined lang siya. Yung x-axis natin is a quantitative measures of the data, and then yung y-axis natin is the frequency. So sa frequency histogram naman, gumagamit tayo ng class boundaries. So the horizontal scale of the histogram can be marked with either the class boundaries or the midpoints. So let's go back to our example kanina, scores of the students. Pag gumagawa ka ng frequency histogram, magka-class boundaries ka ngayon. So the class boundaries is the distance from the upper limit of the first class to the lower limit of the second class. So and then half the distance for that is 0.5. Ang nangyari dito is mag-a-add ka lang ng 0.5 or kung ilan yung distance nung upper class limit sa previous class and then the first class limit sa second class. So, ima-minus mo yan. So, let's say 26 minus 25 becomes 1 and then half the distance, 0.5. Yung 0.5 na yun, i-add mo dito sa 25. So, that's why 25.5. And then sa kabila naman, mag-minus ka. So, in summary, lahat ng lower class limit, mag-minus 0.5 ka. Lahat ng upper class limit is add ka ng 0.5. So, here are the class boundaries na meron tayo. So, yung class boundaries natin, 17.5, 25.5, 33.5, 41.5, 49.5, and 57.5. Yan ngayon yung magiging x-axis natin. So, like say ito, 17 to 57.5. Yan yung x-axis natin. Tama ba? Yeah. 17.5 to 57.5. And then, gagawa ka ngayon ng frequency. Frequency mo sa y-axis. Nilagyan lang natin ng broken axis. Ibig sabihin yan, gi-broke lang natin siya to denote na continuous siya up to 0. No? So, 0 to 17.5, parang kinak lang natin siya. So, ilan ba yung frequency sa 17.5 to 25.5? 13. Ilan yung frequency sa 25 to 25.5 to 33.5? 8, and so on and so forth. So, this is the frequency histogram na meron tayo. So, pwede rin natin lagyan ng data kung ilan yung frequency natin on that class boundaries. So, for this class boundaries, 17.5 to 25.5, we have 13. So, pwede natin lagyan. Yan. So, nakikita natin, nag-touch na siya. Ganito pag yung data natin is ay interval or ratio yung data natin. Naka-ganito. Naka-class boundaries para wala siyang spaces. And then, frequency distribution can also be graphed by polygon. So, si polygon naman, frequency polygon is a line graph that emphasizes the continuous change in frequencies. So, this time, titingnan naman natin, yung x-axis natin this time are not class boundaries, but rather these are midpoints naman. Kung kanina, class boundaries, these are midpoints. Kinuha na natin, didiscuss na natin kung paano magkuha ng midpoints kanina. So, kailangan is ma-close lang natin siya. So, 13.5, 21.5, 29.5, and so on and so forth. So, magiging polygon na ngayon siya kasi it's a closed figure na ngayon. Kasali itong x-axis. Ayan. So, we also have the relative frequency histogram. Ang magiging y-axis mo lang dito are the relative frequencies. Yung mga nakadecimal. So, dito, class boundaries pa rin itong x-axis mo. Ayan. Cumulative frequency graph, or paano ba natin i-graph si cumulative frequency? Using the ogive. So, ogive is a line graph that displays the cumulative frequency of each class at its upper class boundaries. So, upper class boundaries pa rin yung ilalagay natin sa x-axis natin, and then ilalagay natin ngayon sa y-axis natin yung lahat ng cumulative frequency natin. Makikita natin na it's a line graph, and ang pinaka-last na data point natin is the number of observations natin at 30. So, ano pa ba yung ibang graph? You can also do the stem and leaf plot. So, stem and leaf plot, each number is separated by a stem and leaf lang. So, this is example of exploratory data analysis. So, I'm gonna go back to our example kanina. We have the ages of the students natin. And then, ang gagawin natin, isa-separate ngayon natin yung numbers, yung digits ng numbers. So, ang digits naman natin ng numbers natin are 2-digit numbers, right? So, for a 2-digit number, this is the ones digit and this is tens na digit. So, lahat ng tens digit ngayon, ilalagay mo sa kabila, gagawin mong stem. So, ano yung mga stem natin? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They are the tens digit. And then, yung mga ones digit naman, yun yung gagawin mong leaf. So, ibig sabihin, 3 yung 18, 3 yung 19. No? Ilan yung 21 ngayon na data natin? Ilan yung frequency ng 21?
3, sir.
3 din. Very good. And then, dalawang 30, dalawang 32, and so on and so forth. Makikita natin dito sa leaf niya that most of the values lie between this range, 20 to 39. So, nakikita ngayon natin visually kung saan na-fall or saan naglalay yung karamihan ng data natin. Ganun si stem and leaf plot. We can also do a stem and leaf plot na gawin nating tigda-dalawa yung stem natin. So, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's go back here sa 1. Yung unang 1, yun yung number, yung ones niya dapat is from 0 to 4. And then, yung pangalawang 1 from 15 to 9. Yung unang 2, 0 to 4, yung pangalawang 2, from 5 to 9, and so on and so forth. So since wala tayong, from the original data, wala tayong 10 na age, 11, 12, 13, 14, so magiging blanco ngayon ito, yung unang 1. So since ang pinakamaliit na number natin, the minimum value is 18, and tatlo yung 18, so dito sa pangalawang 1, may tatlong 8 ka na ilalagay, and so on and so forth.
Okay,
So from
po,
this
sir.
graph, we can conclude that more than 50% of the data lie between 20 and 34. So ayan, nakikita natin na karamihan ng data nandito. So exploratory lang siya. Ibig sabihin, tinitingnan natin kung ano yung pwede nating explore na possible na conclusion, no? Or ano yung possible na theories na ma-derive natin, and so on and so forth. Dot plot. So si dot plot naman is yung sample, balik tayo sa ages ng students, gagawin mo ngayon siyang x-axis lahat ng mga data natin. Yung lahat ng data natin. And then gagawa ka ng dots doon sa taas ng number kung saan siya nabilong. Di ba tatlo yung 18 natin? So maggagawa ka ng tatlong dots sa 18. Then, tatlo din yung 19 natin, dalawa yung 20, tatlo yung 21, and so on and so forth. So, makikita natin dito that 18 to 32, hanggang dito, most of the value lies between here. So, exploratory pa rin siya. Nakikita natin kung saan naglalay karamihan ng data natin. So, pie chart is a very important chart because, or data visualization chart, kasi nagpapakita tayo ngayon ng distribution ng mga categories natin as a portion of the whole. So, let's say this is the accidental death in the USA in 2002. This nakatabular siya. Although naka-nominal si type, pero yung frequency niya is naman siya naka-interval naman yung frequency niya. Ay, naka-ratio pala yung frequency niya. So, pwede nating i-pie chart to. So, when you do the pie chart, you get the relative frequency na meron tayo. If the total frequency is 75,200, madaling kunin sa relative frequency, mag-divide ka lang each of the frequency with the 75,200. Dapat mag-i-equal to 1 to pag nag-add tayo. Otherwise, may mali sa pagkuha mo ng relative frequency. So, and then you multiply the relative frequency with the internal angle of the circle, which is 360 degrees. And then, after that, dapat mag-add ito ng 360 yung lahat ng degrees natin dito sa baba. Tama? Sige. And then, after that, you measure it with a protractor to get the internal angle of each of the sector ng pie natin. So, we have here now, ng pie chart natin dun sa accidental death na meron tayo, pinakamalaki si 57.8 with the motor vehicle na category natin, and so on and so forth. So pie chart is a very powerful tool because it gives us the portion of the pie na kinukonsume nung isang category natin. So this is very famous din sa lahat ng, I think everyone knows how to or knows how to do the pie chart pagdating sa Excel. And later on, ipapakita natin paano tayo gumawa ng pie chart sa Excel. Nakatry na ba kayong gumawa ng pie chart sa Excel? Let me just ask.
Di ba, sir?
Hindi pa. Okay. So, let's try. Try natin. Kasi kailangan at the end of the day, marunong tayong gumawa ng mga data visualization natin. So, Pareto chart. So, si Pareto chart is a vertical bar graph in which the height of each bar represents the frequency. So the bars are placed in order of decreasing height with the tallest bar to the left. Si Pareto chart, parang pare-pareha siya ni histogram. Kaso, kay Pareto chart, mayroon siyang ordinal na sense kasi meron kang order from order of decreasing height from tallest sa left and then pababa ng pababa ngayon. So, I'm gonna go back dun sa sa data natin, no? So, this is an example of a Pareto chart. Bar graph siya, but makikita natin na sa pinaka-left yung pinakamataas na frequency. Now, even if yung for example dito sa original data natin naka-table tayo tapos naka-rearrange ngayon yung frequencies natin kasi ito automatic naka-order na siya. Kung hindi siya naka-order, kailangan pag magpapareto ka, i-order mo pa rin siya, no? Dapat dapat decreasing talaga yung trend natin doon sa frequencies natin corresponding the x-axis na categorical data. So scatter plot, this is a very famous plot din since ginagamit na natin ito sa algebra, sa analytical geometry din natin. So you have a paired data sets na meron tayo, x and y points, and then you plot it. So you have now the it represents the relationship no ng mga variables natin in a coordinate plane. So let's say for example we have x as your absences and y as your grade, and then ipa-plot natin ngayon sa scatter plot. Usually scatter plot are like positive x and positive y. So kung sa xy plot pa natin yan or sa coordinate plane natin, sa Cartesian plane natin, nasa first quadrant naman siya nakikita. So this is an example of a scatter plot. No? Very useful pag yung data natin are continuous. So continuous ka dito sa x-axis, continuous ka rin sa y-axis. So scatter plot ang ginagamit for that. Mahirap gamitin si scatter plot sa pie chart, no? Hindi siya ginagamit. Scatter plot talaga yung the best for continuous data natin. And then we have the time series chart. So time series, you have now your x-axis will be your time, and then you put data points and then you connect it with the line graph. Parang ganyan. Meron tayo. So let's have an example of the things that we do, no? Sa we're gonna use the Excel for that. Isa-isahin natin. Ipopost ko muna yung recording because para ma-chop ko yung recording natin for this exercise natin.